then we got the WWE Women's Championship triple threat between Asuka, Charlotte, and Bianca. Before the actual match started, and that fantastic video package, I thought, really hyping up each woman individually, and like I want to say establishing, showing the sort of person they are. Like Asuka was yelling in Japanese in a kickboxing gym and that, fighting. Charlotte was on a yacht sunbathing and that, showing she's the luxury person. And there was Bianca. I've said my thoughts on Bianca before in my predictions video. I'm not a fan anymore. I think she's quite bland anyway. But overall, I thought this video package did what a video package needs to do, hype you up for the upcoming match. Moving on, Charlotte coming out cosplaying as Red Riding Hood in a robe. Yeah, she's done better. I liked her Cruella de Vil one and her Thanos one that she did a few years ago. Weirdly, Asuka came out second, not even first, and that was weird because she being the champion, you either expected to come out first or last. Bianca came out last in one of the worst product placement things they've done in years, I feel. This whole match was plastered with C4 energy drink all around the ringside. And Bianca came out doing a normal dance and that, but then posed for the camera whilst drinking a can of C4, making sure it was in line for the camera. It was like Wayne's World with the whole product placement. It was, let's pose for the camera. It was really bad and disturbingly cringy. But anyway, once the match started, it's three of the best workers in the women's division on SummerSlam. What do you expect? It was a very good triple threat. It was a very, I want to say, not standard, but it's the, right, let's get a load of action in quickly with all three. At the beginning, one person goes out, the other two fight in the ring, swap. But it was very smooth. All the transitions from like each competitor going in and out was very smooth. Obviously, we finally got that one-on-one. I say one-on-one. That stare-off between Bianca and Charlotte, which we haven't had before, and was good. They had some great chemistry. Obviously, Asuka is amazing. Anytime she interjected herself, she'd taken out both women and that. One thing that did kind of slow down the match, because obviously it did stop the match at one point. Charlotte had some wardrobe malfunctions. I think her zip kept falling down, and at one point she threw Bianca and Asuka into the corner, and then is posing, and then has to get the ref to do it, zip up her dress. Problem is, the camera stayed on Charlotte for like long enough to see what happened, but then immediately cut to Bianca and Asuka just standing dazed in the corner. Obviously, Asuka then improvised and put in the Asuka lock, obviously trying to keep the crowd focus off of Charlotte, but these things happen. You can't predict it, but they tried their best to recover and not make it a big deal. But going off of that, again, fantastic. Charlotte being Charlotte, hit a very nice crossbody off the top rope. We also got a really, I'm not sure if she's ever hit this before, I may be mistaken, but I've really liked it. Bianca hit a DDT on Asuka, but at the same time doing a net breaker on Charlotte. So that looked very impressive, obviously, to try to guessing the pin off of that didn't work. She goes for a moonsault after that. Both women, Asuka and Charlotte, getting the knees up, stopping her, and then I don't know where in the match they're saying she did it, but commentary was saying she tweaked her knee. So a bit later on, Charlotte sends Belair over the top rope onto the steel steps. Apparently she landed on her knee or landed awkwardly on her knee. Either way, we get all the medics coming down, refs, and oh no, she's being carted away and all this and that. Meanwhile, Asuka and Charlotte carry on this great match, but then the camera keeps cutting to Belair, like crying and all this, and trying to walk up the ramp. Oh, I don't want to leave, and that, and then hobbling back to hit a very impressive, but then makes no sense because she couldn't stand without help. She hit a 450 off the top rope onto Charlotte, who was in the middle of a bridge on the figure eight, and it looked very impressive, but then it does kind of ruin the whole thing of, oh no, Belair can't walk, but yeah, she can hit a 450. Anyway, the end of the match was a pretty cool, quick ending. Belair was trapped in the figure eight, Charlotte had the bridge, Asuka came back in after being taken out, misted Charlotte in the face, and then went to kick Belair, but Belair rolled her up into a pin, and Belair was your new WWE Women's Championship. Well, I was annoyed about this. I thought Asuka really should have won. I'm annoyed that Belair won. I'm more annoyed she won than Charlotte, because Charlotte, we know she'll win it and then lose it immediately because they just want to get the numbers up. Belair, on the other hand, she's come off of over a year reign. So, and then you're just going to immediately put it back on her. That's why I still think Asuka should have won at Mania. Asuka wins at Mania, holds it to SummerSlam. It isn't as annoying. The problem is, Asuka only won it 2 months ago and hasn't really had a defence. So, in her first defence, she loses the belt. And Bianca, we're back with Bianca. Not for long, because immediately after the match, Io Sky runs down, cashing in her women's Money in the Bank briefcase. Bayley running down right behind her, taking out Charlotte and Asuka. Obviously, it's a very quick. It is a cash-in. It's not an actual match. I say an actual match. It is, but it's not much. Io attacking Belair with the briefcase and then hitting the moonsault. And now your new WWE Women's champion is Io Sky, and she started celebrating with Bayley and a returning injured from sort of injured. Dakota Kai. She's still injured, but she came out and celebrated with her partner. But overall, very good match, and I'm happy that Io's champ. And it was after that main event time, and boy, this was a long main event. It was Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, Tribal Combat for the. Sorry, I'll have to read this off my laptop. Tribal Combat for the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Oh boy, like I said, very long. In fact, the whole, the whole everything for the main event went just shy of an hour. I kept count of from when the beginning of the video package started to the bell ringing for the match to begin, just shy of 20 minutes. That it takes the whole video package, which was about 10 minutes, and then both entrances for Jey and Roman were a combined 10 minutes. Now, yes, we know Roman likes to use up his time, but why did they have to cut, like, Becky, Trish? You could have taken that 20 minutes and give it to them. They would have used that 20 minutes amazingly. This is the issue now. Roman's politicking himself into the main event and sort of overshadowing others, which is costing them the opportunity. That being said, this video package, which recapped basically the whole saga between Jay and Roman, was phenomenal. I really love it. Yes, I'm a sucker for the bloodline even now. The ending of this match I'll get into my thoughts, but yes, I agree, like, Cody probably should have won, but at the same time, very quickly I got invested in the tribal civil war and all this stuff, so I'm an apologist for the bloodline. The match itself is it's the standard run match we expected. Obviously Roman doing a lot of showboating for the first part of the match, obviously beating down Jay, overpowering him, trash talking the audience and Jay. So, you know, it's that basic Roman starting. But then Jay starts building some momentum and hits a suicide dive, and really it looks like he hit Roman awkwardly, and Roman landed awkwardly because Roman was leaning on the barricade and Jay hit him in the side, and it looked like Roman tweaked his hip, or landed awkwardly, and I think it may have affected him throughout the rest of the match because he looked like he was struggling. Then obviously we got some trash talking between Jay and Heyman, whilst Heyman was trying to say Roman never meant for any of this sort of thing, and whilst Jay was too busy listening to the crowd. Obviously this led to Roman getting back on top. Very cool spot. Jay going for a suicide dive again, but Roman caught him with a kendo stick to the head, and it looked very good. And then this led, after a bunch of like verbal taunting whilst using the kendo stick, Roman went for a Superman punch, and Jay returned the favour by hitting the kendo stick to Roman as he was going for the Superman punch. Very fun, obviously back and forth, and some pin attempts, the usual. Jay dumping all the steel chairs in the ring, but ends up eating a powerbomb onto him, and then Jay, early in the match, Jay set up this table on the outside. Obviously, they kept teasing who's going to go through it, up until the point that Jay hit a Samoan drop onto Roman through the table, another thing to keep in mind, Jay was so over with the crowd. He is almost on the level of how Sammy was earlier this year. Obviously, since Mania, the popularity for Sammy has kind of come down. He's still really popular, but it's not as much as he was going into Mania. But Jay is on the verge of being Sammy levels of over. Obviously, started brawling into the crowd, and this is where it gets interesting, because in the rules for tribal combat, there is no outside interference allowed. That was in the rules, and WWE being WWE completely ignored it and decided here's Solo. Solo interfered, hits a spinning Solo through the table, a table in the crowd. They drag Jay back into the ring. Solo starts beating up Jay, allowing Roman to bark out some instructions for Solo, but also to recover after the beating he took from Jay. Very interestingly, I like this spot. Out of all of it, I think it's my favourite part of the match. And that's not saying much when the match is just It's, like I said, a standard Roman match. Solo going for a Samoan spike, whilst Roman goes for a spear on Jay. Jay jumps out of the way, Roman spears Solo. Now that then has an effect on later on when Jay gets knocked out outside. Roman and Solo start arguing, and Solo looks like he's going to turn and teases the spike. Now obviously they're really building up this tension between Solo and Roman as a ticking time bomb, and that is the part of the bloodline I'm really interested in. Obviously it doesn't happen. Jay hits a spear through the barricade on Roman and then puts Solo through the announce table with a splash, and then Jay hits a spear on Roman back in the ring and hits a frog splash, and it looks like Jay is about to win before he gets pulled out the ring by a hooded person, revealed to be, and this is where everyone online is saying they're done and it's jumped the shark. They've jumped the shark. It's all too much now. Jimmy has now officially turned on his brother, super kicking him and costing the match. Obviously, the worst scenario is Jimmy is now back with the bloodline after everything that went through, Jimmy being the one to initially turn on Roman and convince Jay to do all of this, and it was all for Jimmy. Now, I hope he doesn't just go back to the bloodline. Fingers crossed. My biggest issue, I'm not a fan of brother versus brother stories. I mean, look, I'm trying to think. Jeff and Matt Hardy, that never really worked. Anytime they did it, it didn't work. Kane and Undertaker, the story was there, but the matches never really lived up to the expectations. And I'm just not a fan of seeing one of the greatest tag teams of all time now broken up and have to feud. But there was some subtle storytelling there, hopefully, fingers crossed, saying that Roman had no idea what was going on because he was knocked out. He was still laid out after when Jimmy pulled Jay out and turned and hit him with a super kick. And after rolling Jay back in the ring, Jimmy just left, and Roman got up and looked really confused at what happened because he didn't realise. So that is hopefully he isn't just going to do a 180 on everything that's happened in the last couple of months. Roman hits a spear through another table to Jay. Roman Reigns is still tribal chief and is still champion. So yeah, I'll see what they say on SmackDown, but I'm questionable now. I'm not like a lot of people online saying I'm done. I'll give it a chance because there have been times before where I've been questionable about what they do next, but this time they need a good decent reason why Jimmy turned for me to stay invested. That being said, overall, SummerSlam, pretty solid show. Definitely probably the weakest Triple H show in a while. Definitely since Mania, this is the weakest one. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Had some really good matches. And hope to see you soon.